Joyce Odidson, and I hope I said that right, Joyce, the last name.
Odidson.
Odidson? Okay. Has more than 17 years experience supporting organizations to create workplace wellness. Joyce is a creator of the Workplace Wellness Association program, providing organizations with ongoing resources and support to promote wellness at work. Joyce is president and CEO of Interpersonal Wellness Services Incorporated, creator of Interpersonal Wellness Coaching, a world-class coach training and certification program, and approved by the International Coach Federation. Joyce created the IWQ Wellness Assessment Tool that provides users with a comprehensive life scan and a personalized roadmap to improve their wellness. Joyce later founded interpersonalwellness.com, an online hub of wellness coaches, wellness facilitators, workplaces, and people who want to work, live, and play well. Joyce has worked with some of the top corporations in Manitoba, such as Manitoba Lotteries, Red River College, Assiniboine Community College, University of Winnipeg, Manitoba Hydro, and more. She held positions with organizations such as Respectful Workplace Officer, Conflict Manager, Management Expert, Diversity Integration Consultant, Harassment Advisor, Mediator, and Interpersonal Skills Educator. Joyce exudes warmth, compassion, and generosity, allowing her clients to build confidence while developing interpersonal skill and wellness competencies for success. This quality has resulted in Joyce having great success working with high conflict, highly stressed, and high achieving clients and employees. Joyce holds the ICF accreditation of Professional Certified Coach, as well as a master's degree in conflict analysis and management. Joyce has authored 3 books: Getting Ready for Meditation, Interpersonal Wellness System, a Coaching Toolkit, and Interpersonal Wellness Quotient Personal Assessment Instrument. Joyce is a former session instructor with the University of Winnipeg, the University of Manitoba Continuing Education, and Red River College, and currently training director at the IWS Coaching Training Institute. Joyce receives rave reviews from her audience as a speaker, is going to inspire us to maximize time, resources, and energy to work well, live well, and play well together. Joyce.
So, you know, it's always fun to come and talk to people, and I thoroughly enjoy that. But what I'm going to do is find out a little bit about what do you want to do better. Our talk today is Access to Excellence. And I know you've had a full day of learning, and I want you to have a bit of fun. Because if you notice, work well, live well, and play well. We need to have some fun. And because that makes us energetic, and it helps us to think better. It helps us to be more productive. So, as we talk about excess, some of the things I want to bring to your attention are going to be, what are some things you have in your life that's too much? And what I like about this talk is that it allows us to have some introspection. It allows us to think about, what do I need to get rid of in my life? What's keeping me back? What's holding me back? And what's keeping me from being the best person I can? So let me ask you a question. Who has excess in their life? Well, we've got some people who have excess. And the other, no one else, you're doing well, no excesses, right? No? Who have excess stress? Okay, yes. You know, studies have shown that we are more stressed than we have been before. We are doing so much more, and we're finding ourselves in trouble. Some of the things that are happening for us is that, you know, when we talk about excess, we sometimes don't take time to think about what exactly is excess and what does it mean. It means that we have more than we need of something or more than we can use. So what happens when we have too much stress?
You get sick.
I heard somebody said we got sick. What else? We overeat. What else?
We're tired.
we're exhausted, right? And we're not thinking as clearly. We're not able to be our best self. And stress is just one thing we have too much of. We have too much things in our schedule. How many of you are sitting here and you're thinking of what you have scheduled for this weekend and you're starting to feel a little hyperventilated? We pack far too much into our timetables. We expect a lot more of ourselves than it's realistic. And so we find ourselves often in trouble. So let me share some of the thoughts that I have for you around that. I'm curious about excellence because it's important. So I want to ask you, how many of you feel like you are currently in your excellence? All right, I am getting to mine. I am working on it. Good. You know, too often we don't take time to ask, what's in my way to my excellence? What's preventing me from being my best self? And when we talk about excess, we're looking at what are the things in our way. Many people take time to clean their house. Well, I believe spring is in the air. It's springtime, and many people spring clean because we want to get rid of the mold and we want to get rid of all the clutter of the winter. But how many of us take time to declutter our lives? How many of you, when was the last time you took stuff off your life and just say, what am I carrying around? No, am I the only one here who does that? It's not always a pleasant exercise, but it's a worthwhile one. Because you do literally feel lighter. You do literally feel better about the things that are happening in your life. And we're going to look at some of the steps to excess because they are very important. So some of the things that we do when we look at excess is the things we have things that we cannot use enough of. We have too much of and we won't be able to use it all up. The other thing that I want us to talk about is what are some things we need to do. See, I told you, I should use my own. So let's look at some excesses, and I just put a few on because we could just list them all after, but we don't have that much time. So we're going to look at what we have here, and I'm going to ask you, you know those little notepad they give you and pen at your table? Here is an opportunity to use them. So I'm going to invite you to take one of those, and I want you to just take some time and think of 2 things that you have in excess. And you can do as many as you want, but I'm only asking you to do 2. 2 things that you have currently in excess. And then we're going to look at the next step. Let's just put those down on paper. So we have stress, and we have anger, and we have resentment, we have fears, we have past failures, we have hurts, sadness, workload, schedule. And pick any of those or some of yours that you have that I didn't put here because I know there are much more than those. Now I want you to think of one thing you can do to begin getting rid of one of your excesses. Just one thing. What is one thing you can do to get rid of one of your 2 excesses? There you go. So, I want to we don't have a lot of time for this. This is going to be a very fun exercise, but I want to give you an opportunity to just share on your table what are some of the ideas you come up with for getting rid of your excess. That's always very fun. Oh, I heard that some people don't want to get rid of their excess. So who really wants to get rid of their excess? Okay, just a few of us wants to get rid of our excess. Okay, So the rest of us kind of like to carry our baggage around. Put your hands down. So the rest of us are sort of undecided. We're not sure. Well, let me go through some of these for you. Some statistics that we've been looking at, and one of the new areas of psychology is positive psychology, and they talk about, what makes people happy, what makes people do well, unlike regular psychology that asks, why we're dysfunctional and, ain't time, So, positive psychology looks at what makes us well, what makes us do well, and what makes us successful. And they start looking at what are some things, and it turned out that regardless of our age, our status, how much money we have, our income, it's really the good relationships that we have that makes us really, really happy. The quality of our relationships makes us happy. So I want to ask you, when we look at stress, is stress good for having great relationships? No, how many of you are finding that stress really helps the relationship? Oh, okay. What about anger? Anger helps? Tell me how. I want to learn. I'm always keen to learn.
That was a little bit of sarcasm.
Oh, okay, that was a bit of sarcasm. Anger really doesn't help her relationship. And it doesn't help any relationship. One of the things that I do in my work as a conflict analyst, I see a lot of people who are very angry and upset and they're in conflict. And you know what? After working with me for a while, they start looking differently. Because, it changes who we are. Anger does that. Stress does that. It changes who we are. And we would recognize that we have put so much more stresses and so much more on our lives, but we haven't had new DNAs yet, have we? Have you ever heard of any research that said we got new DNA strength? No, we're dealing with the same quantity that we had. And so what has happened is now that we have put so much on our bodies that it's retaliating in all forms of illnesses. And of course, you're here to get the mammogram. Breast cancer. We're seeing more and more forms, more types, more aggressive kinds of cancer in all parts of our bodies and diseases because of the stress we're dealing with. And most of that stress will lead to anger. Resentment is another way. Who are you resentful with? Is there somebody that's really getting on your nerves? Oh, gotten on your nerves. And one of the things sometimes, and I noticed that we're mostly female here, and we're really good at bottling things up and not telling people, you know what, I really would prefer it this way. And when we do that, we educate them on how to treat us. Sometimes people around us need to learn how, we need to educate them on what works well for us. And too often we sit back and take what comes or whatever they can give us. And because we don't know our worth and our value, or we haven't taken time to look at what am I worth and how should I be treated in this relationship. And so often we sit back in resentment and anger, and they have no idea that we don't know that they don't like what we're doing. How are they to change it? So often I get from clients, because one of the things I do is coach people who are having stress and conflict, or who are just not doing well. And some of the things they tell me is about, I don't want to tell them it's not working because what if they leave the relationship? So does that sound like an excess that you'd be carrying around, a baggage? If they're not good for you, what are you carrying them around for? Right? So we have to think about the relationships we have in our lives. Are they adding to our lives or are they taking away from our lives? Very important for us to think about that. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck in a place of resentment and frustration, and that does not help us to live well. That does not help us to work well. And I see a lot of you here. Are you all co-workers? Who works together with the people they're sitting with? Okay, yes, good. And sometimes we do the same thing with our co-workers. And we spend more time with our coworkers than we do with our family because we are at work so many more hours than we are at home. Because a lot of the hours at home we spend sleeping, or supposed to be sleeping. Okay? And so I see a lot of people with workplace challenges, again, because they're not able to say, this would work better for me. What about if we try this way, because I'm finding I'm having a lot of difficulty with the other. The other thing that I want us to think about is past failures. How many of you have things that you regret that you're carrying around with you? No. How many of us have had failures in our lives? Okay. What are we supposed to do from failures? Learn. We're supposed to learn from our failures. We're supposed to ask ourselves, what did I learn from that experience? What can I take from here to move me forward? How can I become a better person after this experience? If you find yourself doing more than that, you need to ask yourself, what is my purpose? What am I looking to gain? Because yes, there are some situations that are more heart-wrenching and where you have to do a bit of grieving and mourning, but you need to walk away from that so you can actually integrate that learning in your life. The longer we stay in that place of hurt and fear, the less likely we're able to integrate that learning into our lives so we can move forward in a better way. And fears are common. We all have fears. It's just, if you have belly button, then you know you're going to have fears. They go hand in hand. And having fears is a reality of life. It's what we do with fear, or how much fear we let ourselves bathe in. So fear comes, and we're supposed to ask ourselves, why is fear? Fear is either there to keep us safe. It's our basic instinct warning us to be safe. Should I be doing this? What are the risks? And what cost will this be to me? So once you've gone through and make those assessments with yourself, it's now your time to move forward and take that risk, because life is about taking risks. And too often we're held back by fears. And I had a client who, she was being asked to step up and take a leadership position in her organization, and she was really held back by fear. As we went through that process, she was able to eliminate that fear and move on and take, because she had wonderful skills, she had the ability to lead, but all of this fear and self-incrimination was keeping her handicapped from moving forward. So it's really important for us to ask, what are the fears in our lives, and are they legitimate, and be able to move past? If it's a fear to keep you safe, then you ask yourself, what are the contingencies, what are the consequences, and am I prepared to live with that and move on? Because life is about living. It's about taking risks, it's about joy, it's about fun, it's about being happy, and so we need to take this. I won't go through all of this because I want you to come back to the exercise that I talked about and really think now about the excesses that you want to take away. Are there anything that you want to, and I'm going to give you some time at your table to talk about it, maybe just about 5 or 6 minutes, about some of the fears or things you need to do, to move past those excesses in your life so we can move to excellence. So make a list of 5 excesses and identify one way to eliminate one of your excesses. Now, you don't have to want to get rid of all, just identify them, because the first step towards excellence is being aware. And too often, when we're not aware, we become captive by those things that we're not aware of. So take some time and make that list, because it will be very rewarding for you later on. Let's take 5 minutes for that exercise. how time, so if you're thinking about, if your stress is home, what are the 5 things that stresses you out about your home life? If it's about work, what are the 5 things that are stressing you out about work? If it's about your neighbor, I hope not. What are the 5 things that are stressing you out about your neighbor? And it's very interesting because you may find that once you break this down, one of the things we do in coaching when we work with clients is sometimes we want to eat the whole elephant. It's really important to break things down. When you break it down, then you're able to deal with it little by little, small piece at a time. We overwhelm ourselves trying to do too much too fast. So that's why awareness is the first exercise we do when we work with clients. It's what exactly are the issues? Once we've named them, we've gotten the first start of the race, then we can actually do something about it. So I want you to get really specific about that. What are those things? So I had some curious things that I heard. Someone asked, how do you get rid of clutter? And of course, my initial response is like, just get rid of it. Donate it to charity. And someone said, well, it wasn't my stuff. And it was like, I think that's when the Kidney Foundation sounds really good. They come to your house. So moving along, I wanted to share with you some ideas on roadmap to excellence. Because too often we carry things around without recognizing what's going on. I'm in the process right now of moving an aunt of mine into a supportive living environment. And she went from a house to a 2-bedroom apartment, and I went to view the supportive living facility a couple of days ago, and there is barely enough room for a double bed, and maybe a love seat, and I'm like, what is the purpose of all this clutter? We cannot take it with us. You know, at the end of the day, you're supposed to evaluate what are the things that are going to be meaningful to you when you end this race, because none of us get to live here forever. We all are going to end at some point in time. But what are the things that are worthwhile? What are the things that are important? What are the things we're going to take with us? The memories, right? That's what we remember. The good times, the things we did well, what we've contributed to other people's lives, being there for others. Those are the things that are going to give us satisfaction. I haven't been there yet, but I imagine when I'm there, I will feel that way. And it's really important for us to think about that. When we think about excellence, and why I named this talk the roadmap, and I look at from excess to excellence, is that we can have excellence in our lives. The first step towards excellence is awareness, and the exercise you've just done is one of awareness. It's an opportunity to start looking at, what is this all about, and what am I taking on with me, and what am I carrying along with me? And the word balance comes in, and too often we hear of balance, and it just becomes now just that word, balance. So what does it really mean? It really means moving away from excesses to living in your excellence. And to be able, have you ever seen a marathon runner running with a backpack? No, right? That would be excess weight, because he wants to get his maximum speed. We have to think about what we're taking with us and what we want, where we want to go. Where's your journey? Where are you headed to? And what's your journey going to be towards? And we each have to decide that for ourselves. And so the exercise we did in awareness allows you to break down, to look at what are some of the things that are taking my time. Because the things that are important to us are time, resources, and energy. And what are the things I'm spending my time on? What are the things I'm spending my money on? And what are the things I'm spending my energy on? Energy is so very important now. And what I hear is people are burnt out. My clients always tell me how stressed they are, how burnt out and overwhelmed they are. Well, let's look at some of the things that's been burning us out. How many of us have those PDAs, cell phones, smartphones, whatever you want to call them? Only 4 of us in the room have them? I'm going to ask that question again. How many of us have cellular phones? Oh, okay. I was like, oh. Okay. And, you know, our lives have changed. We have changed. And it's actually quite sad. Because the other day I was sitting with my girlfriend. We went out for tea. And she brought her phone and she put it on the table between us. And I asked, honey, are you here to communicate with me or are you here to check your phone? Because we become rude and disrespectful. We're really good friends and we enjoy being with each other. You're not working, you're not on call, you're not you're not a heart surgeon. Why on earth you don't have babies that, you know, you're going to expect a call from your babysitter? Why is this phone on the table between us? Like, what's going on? And she checked it the first time and she checked it the third time and I said, what is that about? And she said, you know what, thank you for bringing it to my attention because I didn't even notice I was doing it. It's just habit. I'm not expecting any particular call. There is no emergency in my life. And here I am and we're supposed to be having a good conversation and I'm checking this phone 5, 6 times and yeah, what's that about? And so the first part of it is awareness. If you have a cellular phone, what is the purpose? Is it to cause more stress or to eliminate stress? That was the whole idea of technology. Emails are supposed to be asynchronous. That means I will get to it when I get to it. And you will get an answer. Unfortunately, people think it's instant answer. And text message, things that could be said and done, when I get to it, I will answer. And we become nervous ticks. We are always vibrating or, like, really, where are we heading to? Is that excellence? Does that sound like it? Absolutely. It's nice if you're traveling and you're away to be able to have that access and to be able to communicate with others, but it should not be excessive and overwhelming. It should not cause us more stress. It's supposed to de-stress our lives, and now it's become so many organizations, and I work with a lot of organizations, they give their staff phones. And some employee says, we're supposed to answer it every time it rings. I said, did it come with voicemail? And they're like, yes. I said, well, there is a great idea. Why don't we see if it works? Because, you know, the idea of having voicemail is so that we use it. And I went into an organization and I was working with a number of staff, and part of their issues were overwhelmed, burnt out, and stressed. And when I did an assessment of what was happening, is that they were answering every phone call to their cellular phone and every email that came, and they had no time to do their work. Because their jobs hadn't changed. No, you're getting these equipments, and all of a sudden, people are not being educated on how to use these gadgets. And there is a book on programming, and I can't recall the name, but the author, his thesis is that everyone should read what these things were determined for, because we're all using them wrongly. We are responding to things immediately that should be, there is a time for email. Did you know you could set up a time to look at your emails every day? You could have 2 or 3 times a day that you look at email, and you could be more efficient that way, because you could answer all your emails within a 30-minute, 40-minute time frame, and you could work and concentrate on your work, and then set 3 periods during the day that you do, and nobody would know. I actually had clients who told me, well, if I don't answer the email right away, people will get upset. I'm like, let's try it and see. You know, they came back and said, well, nobody complained. I said, I didn't think you were going to get any complaints, because nobody is sitting on the other end and so, you better answer my email right away. Have you ever seen that? Have you passed and seen? Well, that is someone who needs help. Yes, that is not the norm. When you send an email, are you sitting there waiting for that person to respond? Then you need to let's talk after. Then that's when you pick up the phone. Emails are not supposed to use for emergent issues. That's when you pick up the phone. It is supposed to be for non-emergent issues. So if you have something that you need that person to get back to you right away, that, you know those things, phone, like, you know, talking at the other end, it's still in style. It really still is in style. You can do it and nobody will think you're weird. So pick up the phone if you are, because the stress and anxiety and the frustration of not getting a response when you're sitting there, what's it worth?
Then you get voicemail.
Exactly. And then you know what? It's okay to use voicemail because that's what they're designed for. And at the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves, if I don't get an answer to this question, is it the end of the world? No. Can I wait a day? Can I wait till an hour? Can I wait? Is this something that needs to be done right away? We think it is, but really often, I go through this exercise all the time with my clients. Like, really, if you don't get that answer, are you telling me your day is completely ruined? Truly, is it really ruined? Are you absolutely incapable of doing anything else without this? Those are rare occasions. That's not our daily, but we're making them to be our daily reality. That's causing more stress and frustration and moving us away from our excellence. So we're shorter with people. We're resentful. We're angry. We're carrying around frustration because they don't get back to us. And you open your email and it's a bunch of questions that someone could ask you on the phone, or they could all be answered together. Because you have, 5 emails from the same person. And you could actually read those 5 emails and have one answer to that person, and that would take you less than a minute. So we're talking about using your time well. Is that more productive than answering every email that comes? We need to really ask ourselves. That's where the assessment comes in, right? Really asking, is this worth the stress and aggravation that I'm making it out to be? What we need to do is change our mindsets. It's the way we're thinking. We've gotten these gadgets and they've changed our life. Look at the microwave. There was no microwave when I was small. How many of you had microwaves when you were a kid? Put your hand up. Yeah. Some of us can remember a time when there was no microwave in the kitchen. Okay? And we did heat up our food and we were fine and we lived. But now we're mad at the microwave because it's taking too long. What a slow microwave. What's the matter with this microwave? I mean, we've become, we're driving ourselves insane. We're creating more stresses for ourselves and we're not living in our excellence. We're moving away from balance. And we need to take that time. That microwave time is your time to breathe. Take that time to take some deep breath. That is your pause. We don't take that time to pause. That is your time to have some reflection. Where am I going? What is my day about? What have I accomplished today? What do I want to do with the rest of the day? How often do we stop and ask ourselves that question? Put your hand up if that's something you do every day. So part of moving to your excellence is to start to do stuff like that. The things that slow you down. When you're waiting for that email that didn't come, that's the time to stop and ask, what should I be doing? What is my purpose? What do I want to get out of this? And the next one is acknowledgement. We need to acknowledge how silly we really are. And the things we're doing that's making ourselves overwhelmed and stressing us out. And be able to acknowledge that we can make a difference. We can change those things in our lives. We can change our reality. We don't have to stay the same. We can make changes. We can change things. We can. We can make a difference in our mindset, we can make a difference in our perspectives, and we can change that. But the best part about it is the responsibility. Because too often, when I talk to clients, I keep hearing that somebody else needs to do it. Like, where are you in the picture? Who's the CEO of your life? You are. Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, you are the CEO of your life. You get to make some decisions. You need to take responsibility. Ask yourself, what is it I want? Who are you? You work with people who many times you see them going through traumatic situations, or you are the one who become aware of life-changing things in their lives, illnesses. And what about yourself? Think about your life. Every day you see those situations, it's time to take care of yourself. What I find with caregivers is that they're often walking around taking care of everyone else except themselves. And that needs to stop. Because when you go to an airplane and that air hostess starts talking, there's something she does. What does she say? When oxygen starts coming down, what are we supposed to do with it?
Put yours on first.
Put yours on first. And we sit, I'm like, boy, that's a reminder for us. Take care of yourself too. Because you're better at caring for others when you care for yourself. And what I find often as women, we tend to care for others and we forget that we are part of that network. And so we don't care for ourselves as well as we need to, and then we end up needing care later. We all will need some care, but there are things we can do to eliminate some of that by taking care of ourselves. And then of course we move to action. And that's where you take your first steps towards changing those things in your life. Getting rid of some of those excess behaviors, attitudes, actions, mindsets, thought processes, and begin to make those positive changes in your lives. And truly, you need to be committed to those, because it's making a commitment to who you want to become, a commitment to living in your excellence, a commitment to being your best self. And without that, you're going to find yourself flip-flopping. You're going to find yourself trying something and then stopping it. You have to truly sit down and commit to who you are going to become and where do you want to be. If you are not committed, then you're going to find yourself starting and stopping. And I also say to clients, when you find yourself starting and stopping, it's time to take a pause and ask yourself, what am I doing? What am I about? What do I want to accomplish? And am I truly, truly committed to this? If so, what are the things I need to get rid of? What are the roadblocks? What are the excesses? What are the things that are in my way? We're overscheduled. We live in excess of everything. We don't just eat an ice cream cone, we want the pint of ice cream. We're just getting into excesses. And it's really important for us to step back and ask, how are these holding me back? How are they preventing me from being my best self, from getting to where I need to and being that brilliant person that I can be? And so one of the things that I talk about is being well in every area of your life. And one of the signature of my work is the Wellness Improvement System model. And within that model, I look at 9 dimensions of wellness. And the first one we look at is spiritual wellness, because this is where we develop our sense of balance and morals. And this is where we really come to a sense of who we are. And I'm not talking about religious here, I'm talking about spiritual, being connected with who you are and understanding yourself as a person, that there is much more to you than what's meet the eye. Then, of course, there is social wellness. This is an element where we look at our communication and interaction with others. Those who are in our social network, how we socialize with others. Critically important, because our relationships, remember, will impact the level of happiness and contentment in our lives. Then, of course, there is emotional wellness, and we've all heard a lot about emotional intelligence. This is an area in our lives where we need to start taking stock and balancing our emotion, learning about our emotions. Then of course there is occupational wellness. We all have jobs and we have occupations, and we need to do that well so we can have some satisfaction in what we're contributing and what we get away from it. The other one is intellectual wellness. This is critically important because this is where we make judgments. This will focus around the decision-making part of our lives, our ability to learn, our ability to build our capacity. Very, very important aspect of our life wellness. Then there is environmental wellness. What are the things in my environment? What are the things in my way? And so really helping us to think about our environmental wellness and the elements to that. There's financial wellness, critically important. Most of the conflicts and divorces stem around financial challenges. But what are the key aspects of that, and how am I doing there? And can I do better? And then of course there's physical wellness. So these are dimensions that we look at, and then there is interpersonal, which is the piece that looks at that whole relationship with self and others, and how do we connect all of that to our dynamics and our relationships and ourselves. And this is a very comprehensive model, and I believe you have the slides on your little jump drive there. And you can also access this on my website as well. There's a link to this. And what I've done with this is creating an assessment around each of these. So individuals can actually go in and see how well they're doing spiritually, socially, emotionally, occupationally, intellectually, environmentally, financially, physically, and of course interpersonal. So be able to assess and see how well they're doing, get a score, and then create a plan on how they can improve those areas of their lives, which is a huge part of the awareness I talked about, but it's also that action plan to get you moving forward towards the roadmap to excellence. The wellness part to this is the wellness competencies that aligns with these dimensions of wellness. So when we look at the spiritual awareness, we look at spiritual wellness component, we look at value alignment. What are your values? What are the things you value in your life? What are the things that are important to you? And how are you administering those in your lives? Are they important to you? And if so, how important are they? How can they be effective in your lives? That's of utmost importance, because sometimes we don't even know what our values are. What are the things we value? So going a step further and aligning those values so that you have that connection between, if this is something I value, how is it reflected in my life? What do I need to do to make it a big part of my life and a meaningful part of my life? And how can it guide my life and my actions? Critically important. For the social wellness component, we look at responsible communication, because that's a competency we can develop. I had been working, and I've been doing this work for 20 years, and often people tell me about effective communication, and nobody was practicing effective communication, so I came up with the word responsible communication. So who's responsible for taking action here and communicating this effectively? And if we all practice responsible communication, which includes all the elements of effective communication, we can be more effective. Then there is self-mastery, which is the competency we build in order for us to develop our emotional wellness. And as we do that, we become more aware of our emotions, and we're able to actually separate our emotions from us as an individual person. This is me, but that is my emotion. I am not my emotion. I am not angry, but I am feeling anger. And then I act differently when I change my mindset. Contribution. When we look at that, it connects us with our occupational wellness. How am I contributing to others' lives and to the well-being of others? Am I making a meaningful contribution in my job, in my occupation? Then, of course, there's capacity building, which leads us to our intellectual wellness. And then there is interdependence, which is missing an E, which is the one that connects us to our environment, because we're very interdependent. We need the sun, we need the snow even. Can you believe it? We need even the snow. And we need each other. We cannot live without others. And then, of course, when we look at financial wellness, we look at innovation. How can we be innovative with our time, our energy, our resources, so that we can accomplish the things that we want to and create balance in that area of our lives. And we speak of physical wellness. Vibrancy is the competency there. Being vibrant, having vibrancy in our lives. And then with interpersonal, we talk about purposeful engagement. Being purposeful in the way we want to engage with others, how we want to connect with others and what that would look like. So really key aspects to moving from excess to excellence is being able to know how well we're doing in all of those areas of our lives, because that is the groundwork for building. It's almost like building a house without a plan. So you need to know where you are. You're able to benchmark, and from benchmarking, you're now able to say, this is where I want to go from here. And amazing opportunity to create awareness for yourself. I'm going to pause and ask for questions. Any questions? I know someone talked about balance before. Was your question answered on balance? Do you feel you've got more clarity there? Anything else? You got that email? You're good? Okay. Okay. You can breathe now. Okay. Good, good. We're very happy. Okay. So we are almost to the hour, and I don't want to keep you, but I brought one of my books that I want to keep in control. So this is the book that somebody lucky person is going to win, and this was one of my books.
Sonia? Oh, down it?
Oh,
yeah. Great, thank you very much, Joyce.
Some of those things home, they are really, really important and make our lives better. Well, I hope